Hey everyone, this is Pallavi and today I'm going to show the 28th game of the book Chess, The Art of Logical Thinking by Neil MacDonald. This game was played between Korchnoi and Portisch in Bad Kissingen in 1983 and the opening played was English opening. By studying this game, players can gain insights into fundamental principles of chess strategy and tactics which are applicable across a wide range of positions and playing styles. So without further ado, let's begin. So white started with c4. This move lets white's queen move freely and stops black from playing d5. It also avoids blocking the white's c pawn behind a knight on c3 when the knight develops on c3. Now black played c5, a smart move that stops white from controlling the center with d4. Now white played knight to f3. Even without keeping a pawn on d4, white still wants to play d4 to strengthen their control over the board. Now black played knight f6. A mirrored move with a mirrored idea. If permitted, black might also consider playing d5 to gain control in the center. Now white played knight c3. White has positioned their knights first in a solid classical manner. They are centrally located on c3 and f3 where they are unlikely to be threatened by black's pieces or pawns. Now black played knight to c6. Black keeps mimicking his opponent and rightfully so because he's making good moves. Another option was d5. Then c takes d5, knight takes d5, freeing black's position but leaving them somewhat vulnerable due to open lines and being slightly behind in development. Now after knight c6, white played d4. After a cautious opening, white seizes the advantage of moving first to take control of the center. Now black played c takes d4. Capture now or else white can play d5, which will force the knight away from the center. So white played knight takes d4. Currently white holds a slight positional edge since the pawn on c4 dominates the center with no opposing pawn. Now black played e6. This move frees the king's bishop and sets up to challenge the c4 pawn with d7 to d5. Now white played knight b d5. Now idea is knight d6 check, bishop takes knight and then queen takes bishop on d6, acquires double bishop advantage. It's crucial to master converting one advantage into another. Korchnoi realizes he can't stop black from playing d5, which would diminish his spatial advantage. So he leverages his initiative, primarily his superior development, to secure a more lasting advantage. d5 stops the threat of knight d6 check and also occupying the center. Bishop f4. White keeps up the pressure. Now they threaten to capture a rook with knight c7 check, which forks the king and the rook with the support of the bishop. Now black played e5. A strong response that blocks the fork on c7 and counterattacks the bishop. C takes d5. No time to waste. If white had moved their bishop back, black would have had a strong game with their expanse center. Instead, Korchnoi seizes the initiative by breaking up the black pawns and opening lines for his more active pieces. Now black played e takes f4. A needed capture. As if the knight goes back from c6, then bishop captures e5 would leave white 2 pawns ahead. So black had to capture the bishop. Now white played d takes c6. White recovers their piece following the slow opening An intense battle has cleared the D and E files of pawns, leaving the queens facing along the D file. B takes c6. If instead queen takes d1 check, then rook takes d1. Black cannot play b takes c6 because of knight c7 and it's a fork. So black captured b takes c6. Now white played queen takes d8 check. This move is crucial because white's entire strategy will now focus on creating issues for the displaced black king. King takes d8. But black still has hope as they possess arguably the strongest minor piece on the board, the dark squared bishop. Now white played knight to d4. Their knight must retreat and in doing so gains time by hitting the pawn on c6. Now king c7. Black attempts to address two issues at once, protecting their isolated pawn while using it as cover for their exposed king. However, this strategy proves ineffective as the king is not safe on the c file. A stronger alternative would have been bishop to b7, followed by g3 to develop the bishop on g2, c5, knight f3, the only move, because it was attacking both knight and the rook at the same time. Now bishop to d6, supporting f4 and also developing. Bishop g2, rook b8, allowing black to activate most of their pieces. So that was better, bishop b7, but black played king to c7. Now white played a good move, g3. Unlike the previous variation, white manages to replace their bishop on g2 without facing opposition from black's bishop to b7. This allows white's knight to remain on d4, threatening the c6 pawn. Now black played a mistake, bishop to c5. This attempt to dislodge the white knight from the center backfires. A better move would have been bishop to b4, pinning the other knight. Then if g takes f4, then knight to d5 would recover the pawn as knight takes f4 threatens c3. So here now black played bishop to c5. Now white played rook to c1, a good move. Here white executes the move they desire, bringing their rook to the open file. Now black's bishop takes d4 fails because of knight b5 check. King b6, knight takes d4, maintaining the weakness on c6 and causing black to lose their dark squared bishop in exchange. So after rook c1, now black played f takes g3. It's somewhat comforting for black that they can eliminate at least one of their vulnerable pawns. H takes g3. It's best to capture with a pawn towards the center as usual. The rook on h1 now has access to an open file and can join the attack, possibly with moves like rook h4 later on. Now black played bishop a6. Black's opening hasn't gone smoothly, which might have led to a mistake where he overlooks white's strong response. Instead of this, he could have played rook b8, evacuating the rook from a8. Despite the challenges on the c file, this move would have offered a satisfactory defense. Now after bishop a6, white played another good move, knight takes c6. White's pressure along the c file has intensified, reaching a critical moment where a tactical strike is not only feasible but also essential. Otherwise, black will manage to evade the pressure. Black played bishop b7. If instead king takes c6, then knight a4, attacking the bishop, which is pinned by the rook and twicely attacked by the knight and the rook. And now if knight d7 to support the bishop, then b4. White regains his piece and remains a pawn up. So Portisch instigates a pin of his own and the knight on c6. The knight on c6 dare not move, or else the rook on h1 is lost. So knight a4. White's pin on the c file is more potent, as a pin on a king is absolute. Any piece stuck in front of its monarch is entirely immobilized. If now bishop takes c6, then rook takes c5. The black bishop on c6 attacks two pieces but can do nothing. Now if king d6 right now, then rook takes c6 check, king takes c6, bishop g2 check, king d6, bishop takes rook on a8, rook takes bishop on a8, and white remains a pawn up. So after knight a4, now black played bishop takes f2 with a check on the king. King takes f2. Now it all seems over, as bishop takes c6, bishop g2 wins a piece, but Portisch finds the only way to battle on. Knight e4 check. It is necessary to block the diagonal with this in-between move before recapturing on c6. Now white played king g1, an unusual form of artificial castling, but white's next two moves demonstrate that the king doesn't hinder the development of the kingside pieces. Bishop takes c6. After some delaying tactics, black finally captures the knight. So far they have avoided material losses, but white's pressure along the c file remains strong. Now white played bishop to g2, developing and attacking the knight. Rook a e8. Here's what would have occurred if black had chosen to break the pin with king d6 instead. Then rook takes c6 check, king takes rook, bishop takes e4 check, king b5, bishop takes a8, and white will emerge with an extra piece. So black played rook a e8. Now white played rook h4. White's strategy is to apply intense pressure on the knight on e4, forcing one of the outcomes, which is it remains alone and is lost, and it retreats, leading to disaster on c6, and it's supported by f5, then causing black's kingside to collapse. So black played f5. Now white has all their pieces on useful squares, while the black rook on h8 remains sidelined. However, Korchnoi needs to capitalize on his advantage swiftly, or else black will complete their development with rook e7, then g6, and then rook h to e8, coordinating all their pieces to support the knight on e4. So white played a good move, g4. Amidst an attack with your pieces, don't overlook the importance of pawns. Even if you feel your pieces are well placed, consider if a pawn move could give your strategy the extra push it needs. So here black played f4. For black's ideal setup, it's crucial to keep a pawn on f5 to safeguard the knight and counter the pressure from white's bishop on g2. However, this becomes impossible, as after typical move g6, then g takes f5 leads to disaster when rook h6 wins a piece. So black had to play f4, and now white played rook takes c6 check. Now that the black pawn has been dislodged from f5, white is able to carry out a combination to win material. So when king captured the rook, knight went to c3. The knight comes back from the edge of the board and captures the knight on e4. Clearly, not every knight on the rim is ineffective, nor is every central knight advantageous. So what truly counts is whether a piece is well coordinated with the rest of its forces. In this case, the white knight and bishop cooperate well, while the black king immobilizes its own knight. Now black played king c5. Portisch opts to put up a fight. It's both a positional and psychological move to advance his king into the enemy's territory. Despite being down in material, black must utilize all available resources, including the king. Even if it risks getting checkmated, there is a chance white could be unsettled by the king's aggressive approach. Conversely, if the king retreated to c7, Korchnoi's superior technique would undoubtedly lead to victory eventually. Now white played bishop takes e4. If instead knight takes e4 check, then king d4. White has nothing better than knight c3, whereas now he can retreat his bishop to a square superior to g2 if it is attacked. So king d4. The black king keeps advancing. Since the white rook is currently inactive, Portisch aims to either gain material or make a breakthrough before it can rejoin the action. Bishop f3. The bishop strengthens white's king side by protecting the e2 and g4 pawn. Rook to b8. Black attempts to create a weakness in the white king side before the white rook becomes the factor in the position. Now white played a good move, knight a4. A cleverly calculated move. The knight returns to the edge of the board. As surprising as it may seem, because Korchnoi has determined that this is the most effective way to coordinate his pieces. Now black played rook to b4. A rook typically doesn't fare well against two minor pieces, especially when there are few open lines and no weak pawns to target. Portisch aims to tempt white into playing b3, after which he plans to counterplay against the a2 pawn with moves like h6 followed by rook c8 and rook c2. So now white played rook h5. A brilliant move. Many would opt for the simple b3 to maintain a significant advantage, but Korchnoi, as always, demonstrates remarkable tactical insight. Here's the proof. If rook takes a4, then rook d5 check, king e3, and then rook to d3, and it's a checkmate. If instead of king e3, if the king goes to c4, then b3 check wins the rook. So after rook h5, black played rook d8. The rook on h8 finally becomes active, but it remains in a defensive role as it needs to protect the d5 square. Now white played b3. Only now does white take the time out to defend his knight. h6 saves the h pawn. King f2. The black king is now trapped by the white pieces in the center of the board. And this pawn is controlling this square. This knight is controlling this square. So king is surrounded. Now black played rook d6. By using the rook to defend h6, black aims to block out the white rook with g5. But Korchnoi remains vigilant. White played rook f5. The rook targets the f4 pawn, creating an opportunity to advance to the 7th rank. g5. The only move for if rook f6. If rook f6, then rook d5 is a checkmate. Black played g5. Now white played rook f7. Now in addition to the attack on a7, there are direct threats to the black king. For instance, if a5, then rook e7 followed by rook e4 check will compel the white king onto d5, where it falls victim to a devastating discovered check, and black can capture the rook with a check, discovered check. Okay, so now after rook f7, now black played king e5. Black is left with no option but to pull back his king and sacrifice the a7 pawn. Although this offers little hope for the future. Rook takes a7 with connected passed pawns. Now on the board, it's only a matter of time before black will have to resign. Rook d2. This is a final desperate attempt to generate counterplay along the 7th rank. Now white played knight c5. The black pieces are tripping over each other as knight d3 check with the fork is threatened. Rook b d4. Hoping desperately for a white blunder with knight d3 check. Then rook 4 takes d3. Wins a piece because this pawn is pinned. White played rook a6. Now the threat is rook e6 and it's a checkmate. So black played rook d6, blocks the checkmate threat, and now white played rook a5 and black resigned. Why? The threat of knight e4, whether or not it's with check, seals the deal. Korchnoi's play here demonstrates a masterful exploitation of a material advantage. Some key principles and lessons learned from the game. Center control. Both players fight for control over the central squares, recognizing their importance in dictating the flow of the game. Number 2, piece activity. Korchnoi consistently prioritized the development and activity of his pieces, ensuring they worked together harmoniously to put pressure on black's position. Number 3, tactical awareness. Throughout the game, tactical motives played a crucial role. Korchnoi's keen tactical eye allowed him to exploit opportunities and maintain his advantage. Number 4, pawn structure. Understanding the implications of pawn structure is vital. Moves that seemed innocuous at first glance often had far-reaching consequences for the pawn structure and piece activity. Number 5 is king safety. Portisch's king safety became compromised due to tactical threats and weaknesses around his king. Korchnoi capitalized on this vulnerability to maintain pressure and launch decisive attacks. Number 6 is exploiting material advantage. Once Korchnoi gained a material advantage, he efficiently converted it into a winning position through precise play, demonstrating the importance of converting advantages into tangible gains. Number 7 is patience and precision. Korchnoi's patient and precise play showcased the value of methodically improving one's position and gradually increasing pressure on the opponent. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment and share and subscribe to my channel to show some support. See you in the next video. Bye bye. Thank you.